All right, so the trip is over, and now you're ready to pack up your pop-up, and so here's how this is going to happen. The very first thing you're wanting to do is you're wanting to secure the inside portion so that when you collapse it, you're not forgetting anything, you're not forgetting to pack stuff. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by removing the door.
One.
Okay, so we're ready to remove the door from its place, and then we're going to stow it back on the roof port or ceiling portion of it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to undo the Velcro that was keeping all the ventilation secured. So you're going to remove the Velcro from both sides. And then the next thing you're going to do is on the top, the pegs, we need to turn the pegs upright like that so that we can pull them out of the stuff.
One.
Okay, so once the tabs have been freed, now the door can simply be held on the sides, pulled up from the threshold area, and then slid along the rails. You can use your hands if you need to. You slide the door across the rails, and then once you have it mostly all the way over there, then you can grab it from this side and slide it the remainder of the way. Now you can lift it over your head like this, and then what you're going to do is you're going to seat this with these pegs that are on top fitting into these holes that are at the bottom of in this door, so that it sits down like this. Now you can move that thing, which I still don't know what it does. And then the last step is to re-secure the snaps. So in order to re-secure the snaps, with one hand, push up on the door and snap that in place. The other side snaps in place. Now the door is ready.
One.
Okay, now that the door's done, the next thing I want to do is put away any things that are out that don't need to be there. We'll start by the portable table that we have. And so the legs of the table and the table itself will be stowed underneath this bed. And on the driver's side, bed is where that gets stored. Table goes upside down like that, and the mattress can go right back. And you'll want to re-put the blankets in place. Okay.
One.
Okay, so now that that's done, we're going to still look around, and we're going to use these compartments and store things like the bedding stuff and pillows in both sides, things that can stay there the duration and don't need to come out. We're also going to take that time, the place where we're standing right here in between the two benches is a good opportunity to store a few things, but once you start removing the trailer and putting it down, you won't have access to this space, so we're going to go ahead and pack it now.
One.
Okay, so another thing that we need to do to prepare the inside portion is we need to start breaking down the framework of the bedding area. So this L-shaped bar is the first thing that we're going to remove. There's two buttons on top. You're going to push down on one of the buttons, and that'll free up, and then you just pull out on it, placing the bar there. That's where it will stay. The next thing we'll do is we are going to reach in, and we're going to grab the big bar, and we're going to bring it down. And as you bring it down, the top of the tarp is going to want to come with you. So you want to push it back over the top of the bar so that the bar comes by itself. So all that you're doing is you're bringing that bar down, and now that the tarp is down for the ceiling part of it, you can help it by pulling it just so it's making like a wall. We're going to do the same thing to the other side.
One.
All right, the last two steps before we go outside and do the outer part are going to be two things. One, we're going to make sure we turn the lights off. That's going to be the last thing I do. But before that, I'm going to, well, actually, it's going to happen simultaneous because once I pick up the kitchenette and fold it in its place, then it's going to turn the lights off anyway. So we're going to go ahead and perform those two things by the kitchenette. I'm going to talk you through it. Once you're ready to lift up on it, this metal rod here is simply you're going to pull up on it and fold it upside down to where it sits on the floor, and that'll depress the button and the lights will go off as well, but you still want to physically turn them off. So we're going to physically turn them off now. All right, so now we're ready to collapse the kitchenette. Okay, so now that you've collapsed the kitchenette, now we're ready to pull down the trailer.
1.
Okay, so now we're in the outside of the trailer, and you see that the bedding section is getting ready to be taken care of. So before we do that, we have to remove the outer layer. Remember, we have them hooked underneath on these hooks, so we've got to go underneath and remove them from their hooks. Remember these hooks? And they're on the other side as well. Once you've undone the hooks, now it's just as simple as grabbing both ends like you're going to remove a bed sheet and pulling up on it, up over the top, leaving just the mattress exposed. You'll do that on both sides. Okay. And then, while we're on this side of the trailer, we're also going to take this time to remove the support bars as well. Again, you can lift up on it with your shoulder, freeing the bar, and then the bar is going to go underneath the roof portion of the bed and secure in its place with that hook. Repeat the same thing on the other side. Once it's like that, once you've got this, the bars removed, now what we're ready to do is we're ready to actually push the bed section back in place in the pop-up. So you stand in the front. Again, you grab underneath it, raise up on it. Be clear not to bump yourself on the hitch portion as you move it, but you're going to use your body to slide it back in place. And you're going to slide it, removing your hands from underneath, putting them on top once you get close, and you're going to slide it until you hear the click and you see this lip right here, meaning you've gone all the way. You can now go and do the same steps to the other side.
1.
Okay, so now that we have both sides of the bedding fully pushed back into their spots, the next thing we want to do is make sure that we pull as close into the trailer as we can, all of the material, so that it's not hanging over the sides as we get ready to lower it down. One other thing you can do at this point is you have this space right here. This is where we can actually store things during travel, and we can put things in there. We don't need to do it at this moment. We can do it at any point, but I just wanted to get you thinking about it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start removing and lowering the trailer. But before we do that, I'm going to make sure we unplug our power source. And so back to the cords. You have 3 cords. You have the main power. You unplug that, and then you can unplug your adapter, and then you have your extension cord, and you're going to follow it to wherever you have it plugged in and unplug it and wrap it up accordingly.
1.
Alright, so what I've done is I've walked to the back side of the trailer, opposite side of the door entry, and this is where we have our power cords. And so we just unplugged all of our power cords, and so what we're ready to do is we're ready to reverse the process and feed it all back inside. So you just keep on feeding the main power cord. We're going to wait on the electrical for the AC unit until we start bringing it down. So I'm starting with the main power cord first. And push it all the way in. You may need to move the AC cord off to the side and hold it while you push the remaining plug all the way through until it's no longer visible and it's all the way into the bench. So all you're left with at this point is just the air conditioner cable. And so we'll take care of that next.
1.
Okay, so we've been gathering up all of our electrical stuff and things that we're going to need outside of the bench area. One of those tools again is going to be the crank, and this is what we're going to use next so we can start lowering the trailer. So in order to lower the roof of the trailer, same as before, we're going to insert that notched end inside the bumper, that hole, until it's all the way seated in there, and then counterclockwise. This time you won't hear it crank the way you did when we raised it. So it's going to be just watch the trailer go down, and as we go down, we're going to do it in increments. We're going to do it about 1/3, and we're going to stop. And we're going to stop so we can visualize that we're getting all of the material underneath it so that nothing is getting pinched as it comes down. I'm basically making a circle all the way around the trailer as I check, making sure everything is underneath. Once I'm good, then I'm going to remove it some more and lower it about another 1/3 of the way. And I'm going to keep this process going until I've got it fully collapsed.
1.
Okay, so I've continued to crank it down. It will get to a point where it will not turn anymore, so that's when you know you've cranked it all the way. Very important. Now is the perfect time to pull the crank out so that we don't leave it in and drive off with it in there, because you will lose it. Put this in a safe place with the rest of your stuff. And then, as you see, there's still a lot of air inside the trailer, and so that's why it's not fully down. So it'll start collapsing with time, but you can help it by pushing down on it, leaning weight on it, and as you come around this way, now is a great opportunity to take care of our AC unit electrical cord. So again, never grab it by the cord, grab it by the plug, pull out on it, and then the same as we did before, but first let's close the cap on that, and then we can push all of that part of the extension cord back in until you can no longer see it, and then close the cover till you hear it. Now you can continue making sure that everything is closed up properly in the trailer. Tucking anything that may be exposed. Alright, something that can also help you, because right now the clamp is not close enough to engage. So what you can do is, it still has some threading on there. So you can unscrew that, not past this nut, but you can unscrew it and that'll give you some more length on this. So that as you start pushing it down, you can get it to a point where eventually it'll clip in. Once you've clipped it in, then you can use the lever itself to finalize and push it down. So what you will want to do eventually though is once the air fully escapes and it gets used to being in the clasped position, you will want to come back and open it so you can tighten that threading up again, because if you don't, then this particular clamp that you've released and loosened may come off during travel because it's been unscrewed. So repeat the process to go around all the rest of the way. This one's actually set in place, so what I can do also on that, the reverse, if it's already there and I don't have anything to battle against, I can afford to tighten that threading and give it a little bit more so that it gives tension, and then I can lock it down. Again, repeat the process to the other sides. I'm going to unthread it. The reason why I do this is so that I can use the leverage of the clamp rather than my effort to try to shut it. It makes it easier. There. I've got that shut. And I've got one last one to do. And the last one is always going to be the most difficult. I save the front to be the last. And the reason I do that is because I can use the frame to actually stand upon the frame. And I can apply my weight on the trailer to help it go down. You can also, I don't recommend Mom doing this, but you can help do this if you can by getting up there. And just helping it along. Eventually it will, over time, release all the air, and then you safely get off of it. And then you can use the clamp to secure it down, and now you've got it fully secured.
One.
Okay, so we have the roof fully collapsed. We have it clamped and stored away. We still have the door open because we still need to store some of the personal belongings inside there. So we're going to leave it open for now. But what I want to show you is what we can do is we can actually take care of the step next. So in order to release the step, just lift up on it, slide it back, and give it a tug to make sure it locks back into its place.
One.
Okay, so one of the remaining things we have to do is we have these leg supports that were giving us balance, and so we got to stow them underneath and put them away. We do not want to drive away with those still being down. Okay, so in order to do that, you have this flap here, which you can actually use your foot to do by pushing down on it, or you can use your hand by pushing down on it. But by pushing the flap down, it allows you to raise the foot of that leg. The next thing, once you have it raised all the way, is you want to stow this underneath. So in order to do that, is you want to push down in the direction that the leg is pointing. So you're pulling down until you hear it, and then you just fold it underneath until you hear it click back in place. And that's what you got to do. There's two other ones in the trailer, and so repeat the steps for the other two.
One.
All right, so now we're ready to actually secure the trailer to our vehicle again. So before we do that, we got to remove the chocks that we've placed on the tires. So let's just go ahead and remove those, one on each wheel. Again, we're going to put those with the things that we need to have access to in case we need to do anything with the trailer while we're traveling. And then another thing that we're going to do is we are going to raise the trailer up in the front of it so that our car will go underneath the hitch. Because remember at the beginning when we put it up, we leveled it. So now we're going to raise up on it so we can drive underneath it. So clockwise, we'll raise it up. And we're going to raise it up a good amount to where we know we can safely drive the trailer hitch underneath. That should be good.
1.
Okay, so we're inside the vehicle. So what we're going to do now is we're going to back up to the trailer hitch and we're going to use our inside camera to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in reverse, turn on the camera, and the main camera, since we're still pretty far away from the trailer, is what we're going to use first. And so as we back up, we're positioning our trailer hitch to where the pop-up trailer is, and I'm going to start reversing it until I get close in proximity, and then we'll switch cameras. Ease as you go back until you get to about right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my camera view by pushing that button, and I'm going to view from the top down, and that's going to turn on this mode that has a yellow line. And now, based on how I turn the steering wheel, will align me to where I need to go. So where I need to go is I need to put that shiny part of the trailer over the top of the shiny part of that ball. Very gently. Okay, right there. So now what you want to do is you have the brake on, put it in park, let your foot off the brake, and now we're ready to go do the outside portion.
1.
Okay, so we're now on the outside. Something that we could have done at the beginning, but we're going to do it now since we didn't do it at the beginning, is we wanted to open up the lock of the top of the trailer. And so we're going to open that up. And then while we have it open, now we're going to depress this button here, and that'll lift the latch up, and that opens up the inner portion of the trailer. So now what we want to do is, see how we're over the top of the ball? We want to guide the trailer down by using this. Again, making sure that when we first started this process that we raised it up like we did to give us room to drive underneath it. So now I'm going to bring the trailer down, and as you see that latch wanted to go forward, you kind of want to help it stay in a position, because again, when you bring this down, sometimes the ball doesn't seat directly inside that hole as it should, and you want it to go all the way in, otherwise it could come up. And so this might take a couple of chances, but we might get it on the first try. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look underneath it, and I can tell that I am not there. So I'm going to raise it back up, and we're going to try it again. Pause it.
1.
Alright, so we're going to try this again.
Pause it.
1. Straighten that latch.
Pause it.
1.
Okay, so once you have the trailer sitting on there, you want to continue to loosen the wheel that was holding up the support for the trailer until you can get it off the ground. And now what you want to do is there's a lever here. You pull out on the lever to release it, and you're going to put it so that the wheel goes to the back, and then you're going to move it horizontal until the click, you hear the click, and the peg returns back in to lock it into its place. Now this arm that we've been turning is free to move around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to secure it with this bungee cord that I have placed here so that it doesn't there, so it won't turn while we're driving.
1.
Alright, so now that we have that in place, the last steps are going to be to lock the ball over the top of the trailer by pushing that lever again and getting it to where it hooks underneath there. Once we've done that, then we take our lock, we secure our lock. Once we've done that, then we have 2 chains, one on either side. And the way these work is they're carabiners. So rather than push down with your thumb to make it work, you can use the bar on the hitch itself to push it for you, locking it in place. Come underneath it in the hole, lock it in place, and then the final step of this, and the most important one, is probably your lights. So you have your light cable, and you're going to allow that you have enough cord without it dragging on the pavement, and then you have 3 prongs and a hole, and you have 3 holes and a prong. Make sure they line up, push it all the way in until you can no longer see the prongs, and test your lights by turning the vehicle lights on to see if your trailer lights up.